You know what separates real mathematicians from diversity hires, Mitchell? Dr. Harrison Webb held up Ethan Mitchell's test paper in front of 200 MIT students. C-. He crumpled it and threw it at the young black student's chest. Affirmative action can't solve equations for you. Ethan sat frozen. 19 years old. Black. Poor. His mother cleaned hospital floors 16 hours a day. Now a tenured white professor was destroying him publicly. Webb scrawled a brutal equation on the board. He counted $12,000 in cash and slammed it down. Solve this before I sit down. It's yours. Fail. You're out of my class. Webb started his slow walk to his chair. 60 seconds maximum. Ethan solved it in 52 seconds, before Webb even sat down. The video hit 16 million views. It exposed everything, and it forced the most powerful man at MIT to admit he was wrong. Let me back up, because to understand what happened in that classroom, you need to know how Ethan Mitchell even got there in the first place. MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, spring semester 2024, where the smartest minds in the world come to prove themselves, where Nobel Prize winners teach, where one wrong equation can end your career before it starts, and where Dr. Harrison Webb ran the most brutal math course in the entire university. Advanced Mathematical Theory, graduate level, 60% failure rate. Students called it the Gauntlet. 3 hours of lectures twice a week. Problem sets that made PhD candidates cry. And one professor who believed that mathematics was a pure meritocracy, that talent couldn't be faked, that you either had it or you didn't. Webb had a Fields Medal nomination, 3 published textbooks, 23 years of teaching, and a reputation for maintaining standards. That's what the university called it. Students had other names for it. Every semester, Webb would pick one student, usually someone on scholarship, usually someone who didn't look like his other students. And he would test them, publicly, brutally, until they either proved themselves or broke. This semester, he picked Ethan Mitchell. Ethan came from Southside Chicago, public school system that couldn't afford new textbooks. Math classes taught by substitute teachers who didn't understand calculus themselves. But Ethan taught himself, stayed after school in empty classrooms, solved problems from library books until the janitor kicked him out at 9 p.m. His father died when Ethan was 12. Construction accident. No life insurance. His mother, Sarah Mitchell, took double shifts at Chicago General Hospital, cleaning floors, emptying trash, 16-hour days, 6 days a week. So her son could eat, so he could have a chance. Ethan got a perfect score on his SAT math section, perfect score on the AP calculus exam, perfect score on the MIT entrance exam, full scholarship, full ride. He should have been celebrating. Instead, he walked into Webb's classroom on day 1 and immediately knew something was wrong. Webb looked at the roster, looked at Ethan, looked back at the roster. Mitchell. Ethan Mitchell? His tone said everything. Welcome. I'm sure you'll find this course very challenging. 8 weeks into the semester, Ethan hadn't spoken once in class. Not because he didn't know the answers, because every time he raised his hand, Webb looked right through him, called on someone else, usually Cameron Hartley, white kid, legacy student. His grandfather had a building named after him. Ethan's homework came back with scores 10 points lower than everyone else. Same answers, same methods, different grades. When he asked about it in office hours, Webb made him wait 45 minutes, then gave him 3 minutes of vague feedback. Your work lacks elegance, Mitchell. Mathematics isn't just about being correct, it's about sophistication. Cameron used the exact same approach on problem 6, scored 92. Ethan scored 78. Lena Kowalski noticed it first. She was a Polish immigrant, first in her family to go to college. She saw what Webb was doing because she'd seen it before. Different country, same pattern.
He's testing you,
she whispered to Ethan after class one day. "He does this every year. Picks one student who doesn't fit his idea of what a mathematician should look like, and he pushes until they quit." Ethan kept his mouth shut and studied harder. 12 hours a day, 14, 16. His roommate barely saw him. He had a notebook filled with advanced proofs, theorems, solutions to problems that weren't even assigned. He was teaching himself topology, abstract algebra, number theory, but none of it mattered if Webb never gave him a chance to prove it. Then came the last class before spring break. Webb stood at the front of the room with Ethan's latest test, C-, and a smile that said today was the day he'd been waiting for. What happened next wasn't just about one equation. It was about 8 weeks of silent rage, 8 weeks of being invisible, 8 weeks of watching other students get credit for his ideas. Ethan had exactly 60 seconds to make Webb see him, really see him. The question is, how do you prove your worth to someone who's already decided you're worthless? Webb walked slowly to the board. He didn't say anything at first, just picked up chalk and started writing. The equation filled half the board. Complex, dense, variables nested inside functions nested inside derivatives. Students leaned forward, squinting. It was a modified Navier-Stokes equation, one of the Millennium Prize problems, unsolved for decades. Mathematicians had spent careers trying to crack it, and Webb had just put a variation of it on the board for a 19-year-old to solve in under a minute. This wasn't a test. This was a public execution. Webb set down the chalk and turned to face the class. "Class, I want you to witness something important today. Mr. Mitchell has been in this course for 8 weeks. 8 weeks of my time, my expertise, my patience. And yet, his test scores suggest he still doesn't grasp graduate-level mathematics." He held up the crumpled paper again. "So, I'm going to give him an opportunity. A very generous opportunity." He walked to his desk and opened his briefcase, pulled out his wallet, started counting $100 bills. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. He made a show of it, licking his finger between each bill, counting slowly. The entire class watched in silence. $12,000. He stacked it neatly on his desk where everyone could see. "Mr. Mitchell, if you can solve this equation before I return to my chair and sit down, this money is yours. My entire monthly salary. Consider it a scholarship bonus." Webb's smile widened. "But if you fail, you withdraw from this course immediately. No refund, no second chances. You'll leave this classroom, leave this program, and we can stop wasting each other's time." Someone in the back row gasped. Another student whispered, "He can't do that." But Webb was already doing it. "Do we have a deal, Mitchell? Or would you prefer to withdraw quietly right now and save yourself the embarrassment?" Ethan's hands were shaking under his desk. His heart hammered against his ribs. Every instinct screamed at him to stay silent, to let this moment pass, to survive. But then he thought about his mother, Sarah Mitchell, scrubbing floors at 3 in the morning, coming home with her knees swollen, her hands raw, so he could sit in this classroom, so he could have a shot at something better. If he walked away now, what did that make her sacrifice worth? Ethan stood up. His legs felt weak, but he stood. "I need one clarification first, Dr. Webb." The room went dead quiet. Webb's eyebrows raised. "Oh, you want to negotiate terms now?" "No, sir. I just need to know what counts as sitting down. When your body touches the chair, or when you're fully seated and settled." A few students laughed nervously. They thought Ethan was stalling, buying time. But he wasn't. Webb's smile turned cold. "When I am fully seated, Mitchell, I'll even take my time getting comfortable. You'll have 60 seconds, possibly more if I'm feeling generous. Now, are you ready? Or are you going to keep stalling?" Ethan walked to the front of the room. Every step felt like walking through concrete. 200 pairs of eyes on him. Phones coming out. Someone was definitely recording this. If he failed, it would be everywhere. Proof that he didn't belong. Proof that Webb was right. He picked up the chalk. It felt impossibly heavy in his hand. Webb pulled out his phone and held it up. "I'll even record this myself, for posterity. When you're ready, Mr. Mitchell." Students were filming from every angle now. The room was bright with phone screens. This was going to be documented, archived, studied. Ethan looked at the equation on the board. He'd seen problems like this before. Not exactly this one, but similar structures. He'd spent weeks studying Webb's research papers, learning how Webb thought, how he constructed problems. And then he saw it. The trap. "I'm ready," Ethan said quietly. Webb grinned. "Excellent. Clock starts when I start walking." He moved to the far side of the classroom, 15 steps to his chair. He would walk slowly, make a show of it. "Begin," Webb said, and he started walking. Step 1. Step 2. Webb took his time, hands behind his back, leisurely pace, like a man who'd already won. Ethan didn't start writing. He just stared at the equation. Step 3. Step 4. Step 5. Students exchanged glances. Why wasn't he writing? Was he frozen? Was he giving up? Step 6. Step 7. Webb was halfway to his chair. Then Ethan's hand moved. But he didn't solve the equation. He wrote something else. A question. Right next to Webb's problem. "What is the fluid viscosity coefficient m in your boundary conditions?" Webb was on step 8. His head turned slightly. He'd seen what Ethan wrote. Step 9, step 10. Webb slowed down, just slightly. Ethan kept writing. "You've written m equals 0.001, but your pressure gradient term implies m equals 0.01. That's not a typo, Dr. Webb. That's a trap. With your current values, this equation has no real solution. You were testing whether I'd waste time trying to solve something that's mathematically impossible." The room erupted in whispers. Webb stopped walking. Completely stopped. He was 3 steps from his chair. "The value is stated in the problem, Mitchell," Webb said. His voice was tight. "The value creates a contradiction, sir. You designed this equation to have no solution. You wanted me to fail." For 5 full seconds, nobody moved. Webb stood frozen between step 10 and step 11. The students held their breath. Phones captured everything. Then Webb spoke. "Fine. Assume ME 0.01 if you're so clever. Solve it with that correction." He started walking again. Faster now. Step 11. Step 12. Ethan's hand flew across the board. He didn't solve the equation the traditional way. Instead, he wrote, "This equation is isomorphic to a simpler heat equation. Transform using substitution U equals velocity field, P equals pressure scalar. Solution exists as a Fourier series expansion." Step 13. Step 14. Webb reached his chair. Ethan wrote the final line, the elegant expression, the answer. He set down the chalk. Webb's hand touched the chair, but he hadn't sat down yet. He was frozen, staring at the board. 52 seconds had passed. Ethan turned to face the class. "Complete. The solution is valid for turbulent flow in cylindrical pipes with the corrected parameters. Would you like me to verify the boundary conditions, Dr. Webb?" Webb still hadn't moved. His hand was on the chair, but he was standing, staring at what Ethan had written. The room exploded. Students started shouting, not at Ethan, at Webb. "He solved it! Before you sat down! Pay him!" Webb finally sat, heavily, like his legs had given out. His face was red. The kind of red that comes from rage or shame or both. He sat there for 10 full seconds while the class erupted around him. Then he stood back up. "Quiet. Everyone quiet." His voice cut through the noise. The room fell silent. Let's see if Mr. Mitchell actually solved it, or if he just made it look impressive. Webb walked to the board. He stood inches from Ethan's work, reading every line. His jaw was clenched so tight the muscles in his neck stood out. Students in the front row started pulling out laptops, checking Ethan's math. One girl whispered to her friend, "Oh my God, he caught the trap. The viscosity coefficient was wrong." Another student, louder, "Wait, if the original equation was unsolvable, then Webb was setting him up to fail from the start." Webb spun around. The problem was designed to test Mr. Mitchell's analytical thinking, whether he would blindly attempt an impossible solution or demonstrate the intelligence to identify the flaw. He identified it. That's good. He turned back to the board, studied Ethan's transformation, the substitution method, the way Ethan had reduced a massive Millennium Prize-adjacent problem into something solvable. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes. The only sound was Webb's chalk as he worked through Ethan's steps on a different section of the board, checking every transformation, every substitution, every logical leap. The class watched him check it. They watched his hand slow, watched him set the chalk down. Webb's shoulders sagged, just for a second. Then he straightened and turned to face the room. Mr. Mitchell solved it correctly. The room exploded again. Applause, shouts, students jumping out of their seats. Someone yelled, "Pay him the money!" But Webb held up his hand. "However, I need to verify this with colleagues before..." "The solution is flawless." Everyone turned. A woman stood in the doorway. Late 50s, gray hair pulled back. Professor Margaret Anderson, chair of the mathematics department. She'd been standing there for the last 5 minutes, watching everything. "Dr. Anderson," Webb said. His voice went flat. "This is my classroom. And this is my department, Harrison." She walked in, her heels clicking on the floor. She went straight to the board, studied Ethan's work. Then she looked at Webb. "Mr. Mitchell did exactly what you challenged him to do. He identified your trap. He corrected your parameters. He solved the equation in 52 seconds. Before you sat down, I watched the entire thing." She turned to the class. "How many of you recorded this?" 30 hands went up. "Good. Keep those videos. You just witnessed something important." She looked back at Webb. "Pay him." Webb and Anderson stared at each other, some kind of silent battle happening between them. Webb was tenured, powerful, but Anderson ran the department, and she'd just put herself between him and Ethan. Finally, Webb walked to his desk, picked up the stack of $100 bills, walked over to Ethan. He held out the money. Ethan reached for it, but Webb didn't let go. For 3 long seconds, they both held the stack, Webb staring into Ethan's eyes, trying to find something. Weakness, fear, regret. He found none of it. Webb let go. Ethan took the money. His hands were shaking now. $12,000. 4 months of his mother's salary. In his hands. Because he'd solved one equation. He didn't celebrate. Didn't smile. Just said quietly, "Thank you, Professor, for the opportunity to prove I belong here." The class started applauding again, but Webb held up his hand. He wasn't done. "You solved it, Mitchell. Congratulations." His voice was cold, controlled. "But understand something. Mathematics at this level isn't about one clever trick. It's about consistent, rigorous thinking over time. Yes, you spotted my trap. Impressive. Yes, you found an elegant shortcut. Commendable. But can you do this every day, under real pressure? against the world's best mathematical minds, because solving one problem in a classroom doesn't make you a mathematician. It makes you lucky. Some students booed. Others shifted uncomfortably. Webb's words carried weight. He wasn't entirely wrong about the difference between one moment of brilliance and sustained excellence. But then someone in the back row stood up, a student named Tyler. "Professor Webb, Ethan just solved a problem most PhD candidates couldn't touch, in less than a minute, while being publicly humiliated. That's not luck, that's genius." Another student stood, then another. Within seconds, half the class was on their feet, applauding for Ethan. Webb's face went darker. "Class dismissed. Spring break starts now. When you return in 10 days, we'll see if Mr. Mitchell's theatrics have taught him anything useful, or if he's just wasted everyone's time." He grabbed his briefcase and walked out. Just left. Didn't look back. The moment he was gone, the room erupted. Students surrounded Ethan. Lena grabbed him in a hug. "You did it. You actually did it." She was crying. "Do you know what you just did?" Ethan was staring at the money in his hands. $12,000. It didn't feel real. Tyler pulled out his phone. "Dude, I got the whole thing. I'm posting this. Everyone needs to see what Webb just tried to do to you." Professor Anderson approached. "Mr. Mitchell, can I speak with you privately?" They stepped into the hallway. The noise from the classroom faded. Anderson looked at him seriously. "That was extraordinary, truly. But I need to warn you. Dr. Webb doesn't lose gracefully. He's going to make your life very difficult for the rest of this semester." Ethan nodded. "I know. Have you considered transferring to another section? I can arrange it. No penalty. You'd keep your grade." "No, ma'am. If I leave, he wins. He gets to tell himself I couldn't handle the course, that I just got lucky once." Anderson studied him. "Then prepare yourself. He's going to grade you harsher than anyone else. Every assignment, every test. He'll be looking for any reason to prove you don't belong." "Let him look," Ethan said. "I'll just have to be perfect." Anderson almost smiled. Almost. "Come see me if you need support. My door is always open." She left. Ethan stood alone in the hallway holding $12,000. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. She always texted during her lunch break. "How was class today, baby?" Ethan looked at the money, thought about his mother's swollen knees, her raw hands, 16-hour shifts so he could be here. He texted back, "Mom, I just paid for your next semester of night school. I'll explain tonight." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "What did you do?" "I solved an equation." Inside the classroom, Tyler's video was already uploading. Within an hour, it would have 10,000 views. Within a day, 100,000. Within a week, 2 million. The title, MIT Professor Bets 12K Student Can't Solve Equation. Watch what happens. But what the video didn't show was what came next. The 8 weeks of warfare that followed. The systematic attempt to break Ethan down. To prove that one moment of brilliance meant nothing. Because Webb wasn't done with him, not even close. 24 hours after Tyler posted the video, Ethan's life exploded. 2.3 million views, 15,000 comments. The video spread across TikTok, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram. Everyone was watching. This is institutional racism getting destroyed. Webb had 12K cash ready. He planned this humiliation. That 52-second solution was absolute poetry. Mainstream media picked it up. Boston News ran a segment. MIT Professor's Challenge backfires spectacularly. NPR covered it. The Atlantic published a full article. When gatekeepers get outsmarted, what the MIT video reveals about academic bias. MIT administration went into crisis mode. Dean Morrison called Ethan personally. Given everything that's happened, would you like to transfer sections? No penalty, no questions asked. Ethan sat in his dorm, the $12,000 still on his desk. Thank you, Dean, but I'm staying in Professor Webb's class. Are you certain? I'm certain. He hung up, opened his laptop. 3 million views now. Then he saw Webb's response. A blog post titled Regarding Recent Classroom Events, A Pedagogical Perspective. While I commend Mr. Mitchell's problem-solving ability, I want to clarify several misunderstandings. The challenge was a pedagogical exercise designed to teach all students about high-stakes thinking. Such exercises are standard in graduate education. I am pleased Mr. Mitchell rose to the occasion. However, true mathematical excellence is measured not by one viral moment, but by consistent rigor across an entire semester. Webb was spinning it, making himself look reasonable, making the challenge look planned and fair. But the comments section told a different story. I had Webb in 2019. He did the same thing to me, humiliated me in front of everyone for being a woman in mathematics. Webb picks one diversity student every semester and publicly tests them. I watched him do it 3 times. I'm Nigerian. He told me I didn't think like a Western mathematician. Watching Ethan win gave me closure I didn't know I needed. Story after story. Different years, different faces, same pattern. Webb would target someone who didn't fit his image of what a mathematician should be, then push them until they broke or proved themselves. Ethan wasn't the first, just the first to win on camera with millions watching. Spring break ended. Classes resumed. Ethan walked into Webb's room Monday morning. Every student stared. Some nodded. Others looked away. Webb entered, went straight to his desk, and started lecturing. Never mentioned the video, never acknowledged what happened. After class, Webb handed back assignments submitted before the challenge, before everything went viral. Ethan looked at his grade, 71 out of 100. Comments: adequate but lacks mathematical rigor. Your solutions are technically correct but demonstrate computational rather than theoretical thinking. See me in office hours. Lena showed him hers the next day. 89. She'd used nearly identical methods on 3 problems. Same logic, same proofs, different grade. This is retaliation, she whispered. Library corner, away from others. He's punishing you. I know. What are you going to do? Ethan opened his notebook. Make my work so perfect he can't justify marking me down. But perfection wasn't enough with Webb. Office hours became psychological warfare. Ethan would wait an hour while others got 20-minute sessions. Then Webb would give him 3 minutes. This is adequate, Mitchell. But mathematics isn't about correct answers. It's about elegance. You're still learning to think like a real mathematician. Cameron turned in similar work. Scored 89, 91, 86. 15 points higher consistently. Students started a petition. Remove Dr. Harrison Webb from teaching. 850 signatures in 2 days. MIT's response: we are monitoring the situation closely. Monitoring, not acting. Lena organized a study group. 5 students, 3 times weekly, documenting everything. The pattern was clear. Ethan averaged 12 to 15 points lower for equivalent work. File a formal complaint, Tyler pushed. This is discrimination. Ethan shook his head. Then Webb says I'm playing victim. I need to beat him legitimately. His game is rigged. Then I'll be so good he can't rig it. Ethan studied 16 hours daily, 20. Stopped eating regular meals, drank coffee until his hands trembled. Lost 14 pounds in 3 weeks. His mother called every Sunday. Baby, you sound so tired. She'd seen the viral video, pride and terror mixed in her voice. You already proved yourself to the world. But proving it once meant nothing if Webb crushed him slowly over the next 10 weeks. If everyone forgot those 52 seconds of brilliance. The real question wasn't whether Ethan could solve one equation. It was whether he could survive an entire semester designed to break him. 6 weeks after the challenge, Webb announced the midterm. Worth 35% of your grade, 3 hours, 5 problems. I expect graduate-level rigor. He looked directly at Ethan. No exceptions. Ethan knew what this meant. Webb's midterms were notorious. Always one impossible problem worth 40%. Most students skipped it, scored 60, got curved to B-. But Ethan's assignment average was 77, C+. He needed 96 on this midterm to pull his grade to A-. With Webb's grading bias, that meant perfect before the markdown. He had to be flawless. Week 1 and 2. He solved every problem in Webb's textbook, all 863 problems. Found 6 errors in the answer key. Webb's own book had mistakes. Week 3 and 4. He read every paper Webb published, learned Webb's mathematical style, his preferred techniques, his patterns. Week 5 and 6. Mock exams with Lena and 3 others timing him. He completed past midterms in 95 minutes, half the time limit. Perfect accuracy. The night before, his mother called. "Baby, are you okay?" Her voice tight with worry. "I'm going to ace this, Mom. Make it so perfect he can't deny it." "You already proved yourself. If I don't finish this, every black student after me hears the story. That Mitchell kid was just a diversity case, couldn't maintain the standard." Silence. Then quietly, "Don't forget you belong there." Exam day. 82 students. Webb placed tests face down. 3 hours. Begin. Problem 1. Topology. 12 minutes. Done. Problem 2. Differential equations. 15 minutes. Done. Problem 3. Real analysis. 18 minutes. Done. Problem 4. Abstract algebra. 22 minutes. Done. 67 minutes. 4 problems complete. Then he read problem 5. Prove or disprove. For the following nonlinear differential system, there exists a stable equilibrium point for all initial conditions in 3-dimensional space. Ethan's blood went cold. This was unsolved. An open problem from Webb's own research, where Webb had made an assumption without proof. Most students would write, "appears unprovable," and get 5 out of 40 points. But if Ethan did that, Webb would say it proved he couldn't handle real mathematics. 2 hours, 13 minutes left. Ethan decided to actually solve it. He tested the statement with specific cases, tried 5 different systems, found something crucial. The statement was true sometimes, false other times. The problem itself was flawed. Then, the insight hit. Webb based this on his 2021 paper. That paper contained an unproven assumption. Ethan had noticed it weeks ago. If he could show that assumption was false, everything changed. He built a counterexample, a specific system where Webb's statement failed, then proved it valid. 6 pages of work. Students finished and left. Ethan kept writing. With 2 minutes remaining, he found an arithmetic error, fixed it, handed it in. Webb took the thick packet. 6 extra pages clipped to the exam. His eyebrows raised. He said nothing. 3 days of waiting. Students compared answers. Lena skipped problem 5 entirely. "I wrote why it's unprovable and moved on," Cameron agreed. Same. Webb was testing who wastes time. Day 3. Scores posted. Cameron, 86. Lena, 92. Class average, 78. Ethan's score. Hold. See office hours immediately. His stomach dropped. Hold meant trouble. Webb's office. The exam spread across his desk. 30 seconds of silence. Problem 5. Where did you see this solution? I didn't, sir. I solved it during the exam. Webb's eyes narrowed. This counterexample invalidates an assumption in my 2021 paper. Either you've been studying my work obsessively or you plagiarized. I read all your papers while preparing. I noticed the unproven assumption. When I saw problem 5, I recognized it. I used your framework to build the counterexample. Webb stared hard, looking for deception, found none. He slid the exam across the desk, 100 out of 100 written at top. Your solution is publishable. His voice strained. Highest score I've given in 8 years. Ethan nodded. Thank you, Professor. Webb wasn't done. But this doesn't prove you belong. This proves you're obsessed with beating me. Real mathematicians study for beauty. You study to defeat me. You've lost sight of why you're here. The words stung, because they held truth. Ethan was studying 16 hours daily just to survive. Not for love of mathematics, for survival. Dr. Webb, I study 16 hours a day because you made it clear any mistake proves I don't belong. You forced me to be perfect. So yes, I'm obsessed with not giving you ammunition. When you stop judging me differently, maybe I can study for beauty. Until then, I study to survive. Webb had no response. Ethan stood. Is that all? Webb nodded. Lena found him in the library 20 minutes later. What happened? 100. She hugged him, crying. You did it. But Ethan felt hollow. Webb was right about one thing. He'd lost the joy of mathematics, replaced it with desperate survival, with endless proving. Final exam in 10 weeks, worth 40%. He'd need 96% for an A. Perfect again. Could he survive 10 more weeks? 10 weeks passed. Final exam week arrived. Ethan's situation. Assignment scores still 10 to 15 points lower than peers for equivalent work. Midterm, 100. Current grade, 89%. B+ territory. The final exam was worth 40%. He needed 96 to secure an A-. Perfect performance required. The physical toll was undeniable now. Ethan had lost 14 pounds since the semester started. Dark circles carved shadows under his eyes. His roommate said he looked like a ghost. Lena found him asleep at a library desk at 3 a.m., twice in 1 week. His mother called constantly now, every other day. Baby, you don't sound right. You sound sick. I'm fine, Mom. Just tired. Is it worth it? This class, this teacher, is it worth what it's doing to you? Ethan closed his eyes. If I quit now, every black student who comes after me hears the same story. That Mitchell kid, he was just a diversity case, got lucky once, couldn't maintain the standard. I have to finish this. Silence on the other end. Then, voice breaking. Don't forget you already proved yourself, to me, to the world. You don't owe anyone anything else. I owe it to myself, Mom. Final exam day. 4 hours, 8 problems, cumulative. Everything from the entire semester. Webb walked between rows, placing exams face down on desks. This exam will determine who truly belongs in graduate-level mathematics. I've designed it to be comprehensive and unforgiving. Good luck to all of you. Ethan flipped his exam over, took a breath, began. Problems 1 through 5 went smoothly. Topology, differential equations, real analysis, abstract algebra, group theory. Everything he'd practiced for weeks. He moved through them methodically. 2 hours and 18 minutes. All correct. Problem 6 made him pause. It was a topology problem structurally similar to one from homework months ago. Back then, he'd used an innovative approach. Webb had marked it inelegant and given him 16 out of 20. Cameron used a textbook method on the same problem and got 18 out of 20. This time, Ethan didn't use his innovative approach. He used Webb's preferred method, the one from the textbook, the elegant one. It took longer, 48 minutes, but it was what Webb wanted. Problems 7 and 8 were Webb's signature challenges. Either prove statement A or find a counterexample to statement B. Your choice. Most students would pick one. Do it well. Move on. Ethan decided to do both. He proved statement A using a proof by contradiction. Took 56 minutes. Airtight logic. Clear reasoning. Then, with 8 minutes remaining, he sketched a counterexample to statement B. Added a note. Additional work, not required, but statement B fails for the following construction. He handed in his exam. Webb took the thick packet, saw all the extra pages, said nothing, just added it to his briefcase. 5 days of waiting. The longest 5 days of Ethan's life. Students left campus for summer, packed their dorms, went home. Ethan stayed. Couldn't leave until he knew, until it was official. Friday, 4:58 p.m. Ethan sat in the computer lab, Lena next to him. 6 other students who'd become friends over the semester. They all stared at the grade portal, refreshing, waiting. 5 p.m., grades posted. Lena, A-, 92%. Cameron, B+, 88%. Class average, B-, 82%. Ethan scrolled down to his name. His hand was shaking on the mouse. Ethan Mitchell, A, 95%. He stared at the screen. Couldn't process what he was seeing. Couldn't make his brain accept it as real. Final exam score, 98 out of 100. Webb's comment, exceptional work. Both problems solved correctly with rigorous proofs. Extra credit awarded for problem 8, part B demonstration. Course grade, 95.1%. A, he got an A in Webb's class. The class with a 60% failure rate. The class designed to break him. He survived. He won. Lena screamed, grabbed him in a hug so tight it hurt. Other students were cheering, clapping his shoulders, shouting congratulations. The noise washed over him like a wave, but Ethan just sat there, staring at that single letter, A. He didn't feel victorious. He felt empty, hollowed out, like he'd spent everything he had and now there was nothing left. His email pinged. New message. Subject line, final course reflection. Sender, Dr. Harrison Webb. Ethan clicked it open, started reading. Mr. Mitchell, your final exam was the highest score I have given in 23 years of teaching this course. Your solution to problem 8 demonstrated not just technical mastery, but mathematical creativity that I rarely see even in PhD candidates. I owe you an apology, though not the one you might expect. I did single you out this semester. I did hold you to a higher standard than your peers. I graded you more harshly. This was wrong, but not in the way the viral videos suggest. I didn't do this because I doubted your intelligence. I did it because I saw exceptional raw talent being wasted on mere competence. You were coasting in my class, solving problems correctly but without real ambition. I wanted to push you to the edge, to make you either quit or become truly great. This was arrogant. It was cruel. It was an abuse of my power and position, and for that, I sincerely apologize. But I don't apologize for the challenge that started all of this, because in the 14 weeks since, I've watched you transform. Not into a student who can solve problems. You could always do that. Into a mathematician who can create new solutions, who can see patterns no one else sees, who can work under pressure that would break most doctoral students. Your A is not charity. It's not guilt over a viral video. It's earned, every single point of it. I'm retiring at the end of this academic year. 40 years of teaching mathematics, and you're the student I will remember most clearly. Not because you went viral, not because of the publicity, because you refused to let me define you. You defined yourself, and I've submitted a recommendation for you to receive the Bradshaw Fellowship. Full PhD funding, 5 years, your choice of research advisor. If you accept it, you'll never have to take another class from a professor like me." With respect and admiration, Dr. Harrison Webb Ethan read it twice, then a third time. Webb was apologizing, sort of, but also justifying what he'd done, framing his cruelty as some kind of teaching method, pushing him to greatness. Was that true? Or was it just a story Webb told himself so he could sleep at night? Maybe both. Maybe Webb genuinely believed he was helping. Maybe he also enjoyed the power. Maybe people were complicated and messy, and both things could be true at once. Ethan didn't know. Might never know. What he did know was this: Webb had hurt him. Webb had also pushed him to places he didn't know he could reach. Both statements were true. Neither canceled out the other. Lena read over his shoulder. "What do you think?" "I think it's complicated." "Are you going to forgive him?" Ethan thought about that. "I don't know if forgiveness is the right word. He did something wrong. He knows it. He apologized. Kind of. That doesn't erase what happened. But maybe it means something that he tried." He closed the laptop, looked around at his friends, at Lena, who'd supported him through everything, at Tyler, who'd posted the video that changed his life, at the study group who'd helped him survive. "It's done," he said quietly. "It's finally done." They cheered again, wanted to celebrate, wanted to go out, get dinner, toast his victory. But Ethan just wanted to sleep. For the first time in 14 weeks, he could sleep without anxiety crushing his chest, without waking up at 3 a.m. reviewing theorems. He went back to his dorm, lay on his bed, stared at the ceiling, thought about his mother scrubbing hospital floors, about his father who didn't live to see this moment, about the $12,000 that started everything. He thought about the 52 seconds that went viral, the 16 million views, the comments, the news coverage, all of it. But mostly he thought about what came after. The 10 weeks of grinding, the unfair grades, the psychological warfare, the studying until his hands shook and his vision blurred. That's what the video didn't show. That's what 16 million people didn't see. They saw 52 seconds of triumph. He lived through 14 weeks of survival. And somehow, impossibly, he'd made it through. The question was, what came next? 6 months later, Ethan's life looked completely different. He'd accepted the Bradshaw Fellowship, full PhD funding. Research advisor, Professor Margaret Anderson. Focus: simplifying complex differential equations, making advanced math accessible to students without elite backgrounds. Webb retired quietly. No ceremony, just cleaned out his office and left. His letter to Ethan leaked online. The internet debated it endlessly. This is just spin, rewriting history to protect his reputation. People are complicated. He did wrong things for complex reasons. Ethan gave one interview. NPR asked about forgiveness. He hurt me. He also pushed me. Both are true. I don't have to forgive him to acknowledge both, and I definitely don't have to thank him for trauma just because I survived it. The original video reached 16 million views, played in high schools nationwide. Teachers called it inspiration, but Ethan made a follow-up video, 8 million views. What the viral video didn't show. He talked about 16-hour study days, the psychological toll, the unfair grading continuing for months, the weight loss, the cost of being a symbol. People see 52 seconds of triumph. They don't see 14 weeks of survival after. If you're fighting a system designed to break you and you're exhausted wondering if it's worth it, you're not weak. The fight itself is the problem. Individual victories don't change corrupt systems. We need structural change, not just perfect test scores. That video resonated differently. Fewer celebrations, More people sharing stories of bias, exhaustion, fighting alone. MIT quietly implemented new policies, external review panels, transparent rubrics, mandatory faculty bias training. Small changes. Not enough, but something. Today, Ethan stood in the same lecture hall where Webb humiliated him. Guest lecture for incoming freshmen. Diversity in STEM program. 200 students. Same number who watched his destruction. Different faces. Last spring, in this room, a professor bet me $12,000 I couldn't solve an equation before he sat down. I did it in 52 seconds. 16 million views. But today I want to talk about the 14 weeks after, the part that didn't go viral. He told them about systematic bias, psychological warfare, studying until he broke, the damage. Individual victories don't change systems. Me winning didn't stop Webb from targeting students. It made me internet famous while I quietly fell apart. We need structural changes, not perfect test scores. A student asked, "But you survived. Doesn't that prove the system works?" Ethan smiled sadly. I survived despite the system. Because my mother worked double shifts. Because friends documented bias. Because I went viral and created pressure. How many students don't have those advantages? How many break before anyone notices? That's why I'm using Webb's $12,000 to start a fund, tutoring for first-generation STEM students. The real victory isn't that I won once, it's making sure the next student doesn't fight alone. Strong applause. After, a black girl approached, maybe 18. Was it worth it? All the pain to prove them wrong? Ethan thought carefully. I don't know. I proved Webb wrong, got my A, my fellowship, but I also lost joy. Love of mathematics, peace. I studied to survive, not because I loved it. I'm only now remembering why I wanted this. So was it worth it? Ask me in 5 years. She nodded. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for asking. That felt like something. Not a happy ending, but something real. Ethan Mitchell's story isn't rare because what he did was impossible. It's rare because he got the chance to prove it. How many other students, black, brown, immigrant, poor, have been told they don't belong and never got their 52-second moment? How many solved the equation in their head but never picked up the chalk? Webb retired, but his mindset didn't. Across universities, industries, America, gatekeepers still decide who belongs based on appearance, background, names. They don't offer $12,000 bets anymore. Too obvious. Instead, they grade differently, hire differently, promote differently, professional bias, polite, deniable. The statistics confirm it. Black students, 7% of STEM majors, 2% of PhDs. First-generation students, 56% leave STEM within 2 years. Identical resumes with black-sounding names get 30% fewer callbacks. But Ethan's video went viral because it gave us proof. Undeniable, public proof that bias is real and excellence exists everywhere. For 52 seconds, nobody could deny what they saw. That's why 16 million people watched. Maybe you're Ethan right now, told you don't belong, exhausted from working twice as hard for half the recognition. If that's you, you're not crazy. The bias is real. Your worth isn't determined by people who never wanted to see it. Maybe you're Lena, watching someone fight alone. Document it. Amplify their voice. Small actions become movements. Maybe you're Professor Anderson, seeing bias, unsure how to act. Act anyway. Waiting for perfect evidence means more students fall through cracks. Maybe you're Webb, convinced you're fair, shocked when proven wrong. Listen, not to defend yourself, to actually hear. Growth is painful. Do it anyway. The real victory wouldn't be Ethan winning 52 seconds of brilliance. It would be the next black student not having to solve impossible equations to be seen as equal. Just learning. Just belonging. Without constantly proving their right to be there. How many 52-second moments are happening around you that you're not seeing? How many Ethans are fighting alone right now? If this story moved you, don't just watch and forget. Comment below. Tell me about when someone underestimated you. Share this with someone who needs it. These stories don't just inspire, they document. They become evidence. They become history. Subscribe. Every week I bring stories of people told they don't belong who proved everyone wrong. People who survived systems designed to break them. People who refuse to accept others' definitions of their worth. Are you ready to see what you've been missing? Hit subscribe. Share this video. Leave your story in comments. Let's make sure nobody fights alone anymore. Because Ethan won his 52 seconds. But the real fight? Making sure the next student doesn't need to.